Hey guys, Loco here with part 2 of my 2020 LCS Spring tier list. If you missed part 1, please go check it out. It's on the bottom 5 teams. The part 2 will be about the top 5 teams. This top 5 was actually way harder to make than the bottom 5. I think it was really hard to rank CLG, C9, and TSM. And I went off of feels and how I thought they would deal with some of the problems these rosters presented to themselves. So, give me a reason if you think there is like a really strong factor that I missed in terms of ranking these teams, and I'll comment back at you. So without further ado, let's start with 100 Deeps. So we have 100 Deeps at number 5, and their roster is Someday, Meteos, Ryoma, Cody, and Stunt. I always have a soft spot for this team, and it's wrecked my tier list quite a few times. I think the worst was when they had that Huhi Bang roster in 2019, and I think I put them top 2, right behind TL. Yeah, that was a yikes. But I think 5th for this team is pretty reasonable. My biggest worry for this roster on paper was Ryoma, but from what I heard from some of the European teams and some of the NA teams, he's actually doing pretty fine in scrims and will carry his weight as a mid laner. As a long-term prospect that can compete with the top of the league, that's something we're going to have to wait and see for Ryoma, but at the very least, 100 Deeps won't have the same kind of problems they did with Huhi in 2019 with Ryoma. One thing I really do love about this roster is the cohesiveness. I mean, we have Cody, Meteos, and Someday all playing together again, and Meteos has a really strong voice whenever he plays, and the rest of this team makes it very easy to follow. As we talked about, it was very smooth run in 2018 with the original 3, and Stunt and Ryoma are much more junior and inexperienced competitively compared to Meteos, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of clashing of the heads. Shot calling isn't a one-man job, but it is important for the team to play under a unified way of thinking, and Meteos will provide that. So yeah, 100 Deeps at 5th. Now let's move on to number 4, TSM, my favorite team of all time. Broken Blade, Dardoch, Bjergsen, Kabe, and Biofrost. I think this is the lowest I've had TSM rated in any kind of LCS tier list, and it was really tearing me apart ranking this team. There's so many things I love about this roster, but there's also things that makes me so worried. So let's start with the positive and the things I love. Kabe pickup over Zven. I think Kabe was a solid AD carry that performed in the biggest of stages, and I know a lot of people are going to criticize his laning, but I think he was tied to North Garen. While it's not completely fair to blame everything on North Garen, there was a lot of times where he just inted his face off and he didn't really know where to be in lane. And yeah, it's very hard to play lane as an AD carry nowadays with your support consistently dying. So I want to see how he performs with Biofrost before we say he's a bad laner. Also, the duo of Dardoch and Biofrost, this is a duo I really love. I think Dardoch is a very vocal jungler who likes to lead, who likes to tell his support what to do, who likes to tell his laners what to do, and he's being paired up with a solid support that is more than fine being number 2. I think Biofrost looked the best when he was following Doublelift and listening to Doublelift, and I don't think he looked the best on COG when he had to step up and be a leader and be the primary shot caller. So I love the pairing of the vocal Dardoch with the great number 2 Biofrost. And Bjergsen is still Bjergsen. I don't think a bad split is going to erase years of top tier carry performances. It's not that Bjergsen was just a good player in those other years. He single-handedly carried the team so much, and we can even go back less than a year, just in spring, he was dragging rest of his team across the finish line in that semifinals versus Cloud9. So yeah, I don't think Bjerg has had the best summer, but I'm gonna expect top tier performance, not say this is the beginning of the end for Bjergsen. So let's get to some of the things that has me worried. Oof, Dardoch, oh Josh. So Dardoch has played for 6 different teams, and TSM has had 9 different junglers. Statistically, this is not a good match, but Dardoch is just the jungler TSM needs in terms of playstyle and him being vocal, but both are notorious for going through junglers and teams like Drano. So yeah, how do you feel about this? Is Dardoch the perfect fit when we think about playstyle, when we think about vocalness? Yes. Is TSM desperately in need of a player like Dardoch? And is TSM in a position to not repeat history and stop treating junglers like wars? Yes. Oh, yes, but I really want to believe, I really want to be 100% behind this. I know humans are a creature of habit, and this time I'm going to err on the side of caution and say this is going to be a hard relationship to work out. There is a chance that this works out, but for all the reasons I just listed, it makes me really anxious to be all in on this. So yeah, I'm going to say there's a good chance that this blows up on both TSM and Dardoc's face, but I'm going to be cautiously optimistic on this. Now, let's go to the final piece, Broken Blade. And a question we have to ask is, who is Broken Blade? In his first split, he developed into one of the best players in LCS, putting on a giga carry performance for his team and putting them up 2-0 versus the eventual 4-time champions, Team Liquid. In summer, though, he gave a pretty middling performance into a disastrous playoffs and gauntlet, and was one of the key reasons that the team didn't get anywhere. I think it's too early to form any kind of strong statement one way or the other for Broken Blade, but if he delivers another shaky performance much akin to summer this spring, the boys in black and white are going to be in for a long ride this year. I think their bot lane is going to be on the rather inactive and the passive side, and Broken Blade and Bjergsen being strong is going to be a key factor for Dardark working out, and Broken Blade is a question mark for me. So overall, this TSM roster, I think they could be as strong as all the way to 2nd or even 1st, but I think they can fall down to 5th or 6th also. So yeah, that's where I have them, at 4th. Moving on, let's go to CLG. Their roster is Ruin, Wiggly, Crown, Stixxay, and Smoothie. CLG over TSM, my oh my. I think CLG's roster doesn't scream out a top 3 team on paper. They don't have any kind of standout players other than Crown, but they also don't have any terrible players either. I think last year they had a very good shot at being a top 3 team over Clutch Gaming, but they fumbled last minute due to Ruin's underperformance and PoE's lack of depth and champion pool, and they quite didn't make Worlds. They were just outside. Fortunately for them, the 2 changes they made should affect the rest of the roster positively, and also we can expect improvements from top side of the map. Addition of the more vocal Smoothie should help out with Wiggly being more comfortable mid-game, and also the duo of Stixxay Biofrost never truly clicked, so I'm looking forward to how Stixxay and Smoothie is going to turn out as a bot lane duo. And the addition of more veteran Korean player in Crown should help Ruin's development in his 2nd year in LCS. And also, I personally think Crown was one of the standout myths from last year and is a direct upgrade over Power of Evil in terms of play, but also champion pool. It's going to provide them so much more depth. I just cannot say this enough. Power of Evil played 1 game of Irelia where Irelia and Akali were so meta. So yeah, I would love to have a player that just plays everything, which Crown is. I'm very cautiously optimistic about CLG. I think they do have some homework, but they are in a pretty good place to figure it all out. Now, let's move on to our number 2 team, C9. They have Licorice, Blabber, Niski, Zven, Vulcan. As always, let's start with the good. Finally, Licorice is injury free, and we can expect year-long elite top lane play from him. And Vulcan was the 2nd best support last year behind Core JJ. Now, rest of the roster isn't that bad, and we can even expect them to be top tier players in LCS, but there is a slight question mark around all 3 of them. For Blabber, he's never played a full split. I know, he's a very promising rookie. I know you guys are already crowning him as one of the best junglers in LCS, but let's wait. He has a very explosive playstyle that can lead to feast or famine. I think fans tend to fall in love with players like this, where they can tend to giga carry some of the games and feed off some of the games. They just look at the carry performance and be like, oh, look at how good he is. If he can just stop feeding in some of the games, he'll be the best jungler ever. But it's never that simple. And finding that consistent basis is something that's going to take time. Zven, the new AD carry. He had a terrible split on TSM. Actually, he's had terrible 2 years on TSM. So going into C9, I don't think there's going to be this massive amount of pressure or expectations from the fans or himself. So I think he's going to get a fresh start. And I do think we can expect a return to form with Vulcan. So finally, for Niski, I think he started out as a middle of the pack player when he came to NA for the 2nd time with C9, and he just did his job in teamfights. Then he developed into one of the best mids in North America in summer on the backs of Irelia, Sylas, Akali, Yasuo, all these melee carries he did an excellent job with. And he played really well on mages such as Zoe, and he always has his pocket Cassio pick. But my question is, what is he going to look like without the MVP jungler Svenskeren backing him up? He's actually going to play more of the leader role in this Blabber-Niski relation, I feel like. So yeah, that is my question mark towards him. It isn't a big question mark. I do think he'll still be a top tier mid, but he was playing with the MVP last year. So yeah, let's wait and see. C9, just like TSM and CLG, you guys have a lot of things up in the air, but I'm still giving the name that C9 carries a lot more credit and faith, and they have less on their plate than the other two teams. So you take my number 2 spot. Now finally, let's move on to the number 1 team. I think this is going to come as not a surprise to anyone. Team Liquid with Impact, Broxa, Jensen, Doublelift, Core JJ in their roster. Woo-wee! TL at first. What a surprise, right? I do think they have become more mortal than they have ever been in LCS, but I talked about it so many times in different shows and videos, so I'll try to keep it nice and simple. They have the best collection of talent still, period. But this is a team that's won 4 in a row. It's a lot easier to reach the top than it is to stay there. Once you're at the top, everyone wants a piece of you. How you got there, how you play is being dissected by every other team and their analysts. And also, it's easy to get comfortable and much harder to put in the same kind of work you did for the first 4 when you had everything to prove. And the addition of Broxa is a plus in terms of mechanics and mid and jungle synergy. Jensen, Xmeti, never really quite developed into a top tier duo, but there is a part of me that worries about Broxa not being the same kind of glue that Xmeti was when it comes to making on the fly decision to help out rest of the lanes. And also, he won't be starting for the first few weeks, so yeah, he has even less time to really gel with rest of his teammates and really find his role. With all that said, TL is still the team to beat, and they take my number 1 spot pretty handedly. I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list video. I'm going to be trying to do daily content around LCS and League of Legends in general whenever the season starts, so yeah. Stay tuned and subscribe to the YouTube channel, share the video, like, subscribe, and comment. You know, the good shizzle. I've been pretty busy, so I haven't gotten to comment on either of the tier list videos yet, but I will get to commenting on it before the season starts, so leave me those comments down below. Also, one last thing, I'm not crazy, I'm just Loco. Bye guys!